Welcome to Pratidhwani, where we try to humanize science. I am your host, GV Pawan Kumar. It is my delight and pleasure to invite my dear colleague, Arnab Mukherjee. Arnab has a very interesting background in chemistry, but also is deeply interested in solving problems in biology through computational chemistry and molecular kind of biophysics. Arnab also has been working on various interesting problems related to DNA and DNA's interaction with drugs, proteins, and also very interestingly, he has been asking questions related to entropy and dynamics of water. And in recent times, he's also been associated with the data science department at the IISER Pune institution, where he's trying to bring in machine learning from a chemical physics viewpoint. Welcome to Pratidhwani.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavan. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah. So, Arnab, we'll get started with how you actually got interested in science right at its origin. So, please give us an overview of where were you born, when were you born, and background.
Yeah, so I was born in Raniganj, which is basically a small city, also known for its coal mines. I think many people know Raniganj because of its coal mines.
Yes.
So my father was working in a college there. First, my father was working in a paper mill, which got closed at some point, and then he joined a college nearby in Raniganj. So I was born there, and then I stayed with my grandparents for some time when I was very little in different places. And later I studied in Raniganj up to so first standard I studied in Raniganj. And I remember my first standard marks also.
Wow, do you remember?
Yeah. It was bad.
Okay.
It was bad means I think I got there were two subjects, Bengali and maths. So I got, I think, 100 in maths, only 55 in Bengali out of 100. I remember because my neighbor girl, who was just 1 year older, told me, "Oh, your marks is so bad." So that's how I remember it. And I also remember in my class 1, I didn't give my half yearly exam. So there were two exams. Half yearly. So, but in my second, when I was in class 2, at that time, that period, my father was working in a paper mill which got closed down. So I spent my entire second standard in my father's native place, which is called Balijuri, which is in Bardwan district, but some 40 kilometers away. It was a village, almost like a proper village. I think, there was probably no TV and electricity and all that. And I really enjoyed my second standard, where I remembered, running around fields and playing kites and studying in a school where we used to, sit on the floor, and we used to take our mattress and books, and there used to be a tuition master who used to come and teach some very difficult Bengali words, and if you cannot spell them properly, you'll get punishment. So that second standard studies that I have done, and I also remember the marks.
Wow, that is amazing.
At the end of this thing, I got, I think, 77 in both the subjects.
Do you have the records of all those things?
No,
or just memory?
Just memory. Just memory.
Nice.
So I was, and I became second because the girl who got first in my class, she was the headmaster's daughter, and I was very upset, and I was crying under a tree. And then after some time, I came home for lunch, and my grandmother asked, "What happened?" I said, "I got very low marks." So he said, "Did you pass?" I said yes. And my grandmother said, that's enough.
Mm.
Now go and take bath and have your lunch. So that was a fantastic time.
Yes.
You know,
This is what, like 1980s?
So it will be 1984.
84.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Mm.
And actually that time there was no TV in our house.
Yes. Yeah.
So Indira Gandhi died
Mm.
at some point, on that particular year.
Mm.
And I remembered that there was only one house where there was a TV, and many of us went there to see that particular event, because that was the only place, and it was almost like the whole village came to that place. So that was a very different time, second standard. So I could see circus, I could see I spent time going for picnics outside. We used to call something different in Bengali, where you will go on a field and take potatoes with you, burn it on the field, and then all those fantastic things. The memories that I have in the second standard. Education wise, it was not great, but other than that, was. Then third standard, I came back again to stay with my parents in Raniganj, and I got admitted to a good school. And I remember there, the first day I was a very shy boy, and there was a particularly a guy whose name is Subhas. He came to me. Somehow he liked me, and my first impression of that boy was that he was almost like a leader, because everybody was listening to him. He was running all around the benches, jumping around and everything. He was very active, very and everybody was listening to him. And I was a quiet guy, shy, sitting in a corner. But he came and talked to me himself, made friends, and we became very good friends later on. And it turned out that he was also topper of the class. So I remember my third standard marks also. I got 100 in maths and 94 in Bengali. But he got 99 in both. So he became the first guy. He was very smart. In fact, he was the so in my life, I am fortunate to have many smart and good friends, and at every stage you will hear me talking about them, because they are almost an inspiration for me. They were around, and I'll tell you one story about Subhas. It will be his story, but it affected me a lot. So third and fourth standard we spent in that particular school, Rai Sahib School in Raniganj. We used to walk with a suitcase, aluminum suitcase, to the school and then come back. And we used to have a lock for the suitcase. So one particular day, I lost the key for the lock, and I didn't know what to do. So we went to the teacher, who looked very big and strong, with a big mustache. We asked him to break the lock. He couldn't do that. So then he was in fourth standard. I was also in fourth standard, Subhas. He took me to the marketplace, where actually people, it's a big marketplace. There are a lot of cars, lot of shops and traffic and everything. He took me to almost like as if somebody is taking their child to a particular place. Cut the lock, bought me a new lock, and then almost came and dropped me near my house, and then went.
Wow! And he was your
he was my classmate. And next day, my mother asked me. That day, my mother asked me, "Did you pay him?" I said no, because I didn't have money, or he didn't even ask. So my mother gave me 2 rupees to pay him back next day. Of course, he didn't take that, but I went and did that. And he also took me once to buy fish. Again, in the fourth standard, I went with him to buy fish, and he showed me which fish to choose and how to choose a good fish compared to bad ones. It was really amazing, because as if he was ahead of, and that was the first time I came to know about something called science, because he told that he wanted to take science later on. I had no idea what science means, but he had an idea
Already.
and when he was in the 4th standard. First time I came to know about science is from him, that he wanted to take science. And so after 4th standard, however, and there is another incident, a very short one or sad one basically. He came to our house and he told that he dreamt that night that her mother died. And he was talking to my mother. So my mother obviously was very, this thing. He said, no, everything will be fine and all. That day, in fact, her mother died.
Wow, okay.
And I did not, after that, we passed out of the school and then I went to a different school and I had no idea what happened to him for a long, long time. Again, I met him when I was in class 11. But lot of sad things happened to him one after another, and he in fact could not take science, where I took science, which I learned from him. So then I joined a different school. It's called Sirsol Raj High School, where actually Kazi Nazrul Islam also studied. So we have an idol of Kazi Nazrul Islam in front of the school. It is a very old school. It was established in 1857. Teachers were fantastic, all of them so caring and great teachers actually, in fact. And my I remember my admission test, and everybody said admission test would be very difficult. So there also there were again 2 subjects, Bengali and English, and there interestingly I did very well in Bengali. I got full marks, but in maths I did very bad.
Just the opposite.
And I was again crying somewhere in a shop, and somebody, I think one of the teachers or my family member, somebody fed me 4 rasagullas. And I was happy. In fact, I was worried whether I will get admission or not. But turned out that I became second in the admission test. So of course I got admitted. Everybody said, no, it will be very difficult to get admission there. They're all good students, very tough and all that. And since I would be considered as a poor student in maths because I got very low marks, and Bengali I got good marks. I know I'm supposed to be good in Bengali, because my father is a writer in Bengali. Yeah, so he has written a lot of books and articles in prominent Bengali magazines. So, but anyway, at that time it was probably a spelling test and things like that at that standard. But I got admission, and turned out that I was very good in maths because I got full marks in maths, and I became the topper of the batch. The guy who actually was topper, but because of his maths problem, he in class 5 exam he beat me in all subjects. But I got 99 in maths. He got 66. So he made up 27 marks by beating me in all subjects. But 6 marks. So he became second by 6 marks. But okay. So, and from then on, I was always the topper, mainly because of maths. He was very good in English, the second guy, very good in other subjects also. So, and since I knew that the maths is the only thing that I probably can, utilize, so I kind of kept on to it.
So, one of the interesting things you're mentioning is this influence of friends.
Right.
I can see that clearly there is some kind of learning process which is happening.
Yes, definitely.
See, it is generally available to everybody, because when you put a child in a school, they are exposed to a lot of other children.
Right.
But it is not usual for any child to just learn from their peer. This is same even at the adult level.
Right.
For that matter.
Exactly.
But the story what you mentioned is very fascinating, because unfortunately your friend actually could not go into science, but you managed to get in. See, which means that you're also kind of open to the world, right at that time.
Yes. So, right.
And how was it at your home? See, it also means that you probably are looking at things from a slightly more relaxed viewpoint. There is some kind of normalcy at home, because sometimes even for some people that is not possible.
Understand. Normalcy with respect to what?
Normalcy, let's say the economic condition,
Acha, okay.
or let's say somebody at home is not even interested in educating the children. Educating, I'm not telling not sending to school, but you can see that there is an influence, right? Because you are saying that your parent actually wrote and also had a very literary culture and everything. I'm wondering how much influence was that on you, or was that also something which played a role?
Right. So in our family, everybody was a reader. So I have a brother, and like my parents used to. So my father is a writer in Bengali. So my father did bachelor in science, and then masters in bachelor's in science and arts, and then masters in Bengali. Actually, he did that when I was little. Actually, so he joined that paper mill, but later on he did his masters in Bengali when he was already a well-known writer. So in West Bengal, there are a lot of magazines are there. Like for example, Desh is a very famous one. Actually, it's almost like our nature paper if we get through. So he wrote there, and then in many other. So in fact, when he was doing his masters in Bengali, he was writing something about a particular topic, which he has as an answer to the question, which he has already written to a journal, which got published. So he was his Bengali was phenomenal. I'll come back to that probably later on. He is very, very good in Bengali. Like I have not seen anybody around me, including professors in Bengali, even close to his level of knowledge. And English also. He used to read a lot, but I used to see lots of writers, poets coming to our place, where my father would read a poetry. Everybody would listen to that, and then they will read their poetry. That thing will go on. My mother will also take part in giving comments and stuff like that. Although I never participated in that, but that obviously influenced. And second thing is that from class 5 onwards, I was an avid reader in Bengali. So my studies, everything happened in Bengali till 12th standard. So there was a library in our village. A village means where I stayed later on. That was also a village, but not as remote a village where I stayed in the second standard. So in our library, first of all, I used to read every day one book. And I finished the whole children's section.
Wow. Okay.
Whichever I could read at that point. And then when I was in class 7, my father became somehow secretary of the library, and he bought a lot more books for the library. And those books were, because the library was closed for 15-16 days, they were kept in our house. And I finished almost half of them before it went to the library. So I was that kind of read. I used to love reading books, Bengali books. So in our house there was a culture of reading. Economically, it was not that great, because when my father joined college, he was not a permanent employee. So but they never let us feel that. So my father used to always say that rinang kritva ghritang pibet, which means that even if you have to borrow, you do that, but you eat ghee, which means good food, good stuff. So food wise, there was no compromise. Other things there were, for example, we didn't buy great toys. My father had only bicycle, not even a car or scooter. Later on, after a long time, like after much later, he actually bought a scooter. Till now, there is no car. So, but food wise and book wise. So I remember even earlier when he was working in a paper mill, every month one guy used to come with a full sack of books.
Nice.
And I observed that as a child, that every month it is coming, every month. And if you go to our house, you will see these racks. Like that, there are so many racks are there, full of books and all sorts of books. Not just fictions, non-fictions and everything. And English books also he used to read later a lot, but mostly Bengali books. So probably, it says that to teach a child, you don't have to tell anything, you have to show them. So nobody had to tell me to study. It was just there. So I studied a lot, when I was up to a certain point. I'll probably come back to that later on. So, so that culture was there. My mother also used to read. So in our house, it is a boarding house. If you enter the house, it will be quiet. My father is reading, my mother is reading, I am reading. That's it. And sometimes we used to watch some good Bengali movies, but only that duration of the movie, and then it will be switched off. That's it. And we did not complain about not having toys. We probably never went for excursions, tours, and other things. People go for vacations.
Yeah.
I think our vacation was grandmother's place, grandfather's place, all those things. Maternal grandfather, paternal grandfather's place. Maternal grandfather, grandparents were very dear to me, and I loved spending time there. In fact, after my exam, every year I used to go and spend a month with them in very remote village. It is so remote. Forget about any electricity and all. I remember using neem dal as my toothbrush, and the other trees as palm trees leaves as my tongue cleanser. So it is, but in fact, there when we went to somebody else's house, the reception was by giving a freshly extracted milk from the cow. So it was like that kind of a. But that was again when I was very little. I think third, fourth standard stage, and I used to take always. I used to take with me big novel. So a collection of novels, basically, not one. And my pastime would be reading the whole month. Only novels, no study books.
Nice.
The whole month, and enjoy playing, all that.
Yeah.
That way is relaxed. But during the school time, I was pretty serious. There was obviously pressure, which I realized later on, because I didn't feel pressure because there was no need to put pressure. Because I was always getting good marks. So I used to feel pressure. I remember every day before the result, the day before the result came out, I would be tense. Why? Not that I would pass or not, whether I will be first or not. Somehow that got into my head. And another thing got into my head is getting 100 out of 100 in maths, which unfortunately I never got. I used to always get stuck before that. For example, in class 5, there was a wrong question. So question was like this, you have something, some item, you give 1/3 to your brother, 1/5 to your somebody else.
Fractions.
How much? Fractions. How much you have remaining? It was coming negative. So I said that it's not a correct question because I'm getting negative. So teacher gave 10 marks grace to everybody for that marks, and that time I got 100 out of 100. Same thing happened in class 7. So I got 94, and then there was a geometric proof used to be there, 6 marks. The proof was wrong, but I didn't have courage to write that wrong on the paper in class 7. So things have changed between 5 and 7. My courage has gone down. I couldn't write it, but I was after the teacher for 6 more months. He said, just to make him tell that it was a wrong question. He didn't admit that it was a wrong question, but he said, why do you worry about it? That you already got your marks, already became first, so why do you worry about that? I said, no, I need to know. And then I think later on, another time, I got 99 because I made a mistake in the sense that instead of writing E, I wrote F. They got cut 1 mark. So somehow, why I'm telling all this, because somehow getting 100 out of 100 became an obsession for me. It is not that I'm going to get something big out of it.
Yes.
But the fact that I'm getting full marks, and I know that it is very difficult to get full marks. You can reach 90s, but getting full marks is essentially, and that happened in Sanskrit. So my friend, so I had Sanskrit in 7 and 8. I got 49 and he got 50. So he told me, getting 49 is easy, not 50 out of 50. And I agreed to that. So, and he was very good in English, very good in languages, but maths was his, problematic part, and because of which it was difficult. But then somehow later on, class 8, 9, the gap increased a lot. So when I was in class 10, then a very interesting thing happened. So we had a very nice physics teacher. We used to call him Jagoda sir. So he was, the school was, not like the schools today, not like the awareness that we have right now, not the exposure. We never used to have experiments. But he was the teacher who first time showed an experiment in front of us. And he tried to actually motivate students towards science by doing those. So Jagoda sir, there's a very interesting story. So when I was in class 9, so eventually you're going towards the board, right? So I was topper anyway. People knew that he will do good, but we had a good record in our school. Somebody got 750 out of 900, and that was a record. For a long time, the record was kept intact. Nobody could break it and things like that. And we also used to revere those guys. Oh, great! They are so good. They got all that, good marks. So, but Jagoda sir came one day, and it was a surprise for me also. He just met me randomly, and in fact, I'll tell you one more story about Jagoda sir. Is that in the class 6 maths book, in our whatever we had in the syllabus, in that book, there was one problem that I could not do, only one. And then he asked me about that problem, and I lied to him. I said I did it, but I was kind of avoiding him because I'll be caught. I could have said that but I don't know why, and I didn't even try so hard. Also, I could have taken help from somebody, and I did not do anything. I just, kind of avoiding Jagoda sir for some time. Maybe I think more than a year or something. So in class 9, he caught me on the road in the school itself, and asked me, "How is your other studies going?" So he was a science teacher, maths or science. Actually, he should teach science, but maths also he could have taught. I kind of that was a time when I was kind of becoming, what is that called, teenager, adolescent, a little bit of, I would say, what is that called? Like the innocence is going away.
Okay.
So I was, I don't know the particular word for that, but I would say in a milder way that I was curious. Then why he is worried about other subject? He's a science teacher. But he is, such a nice person. He said that he didn't take that thing in any way. He just said that we had a faculty meeting. So they have a faculty meeting, and then he announced in the faculty meeting that I will stand in the board. Stand meaning I will get a position in, let's say, within 20 in the whole West Bengal. That is unthinkable because from the school nobody could do that. 750 would be the gold standard, right? If more than 700 itself is fine. So I said that, how do you say that? He said, no, I'm saying that, but only thing that you have to do is study. And I hope that he will save my face in front of others. So you see how he is trying to motivate.
Yeah.
But then I was also being different, becoming different. Like, I was studying less, spending time in other things. So then, certain time in arguing, I would say, about a lot of things. I realized that I should have studied in English medium. I know probably I should have studied in CBSE board, because I could see the syllabus was different. I could see that with West Bengal board syllabus, it would be difficult to compete in the exam. So I could understand all that. I could have studied in probably Ramakrishna Mission or some bigger schools where I can see toppers. So most of the toppers will come from Ramakrishna Mission. So then he said, no, I said that. I took his word and then I forgot about it. I didn't pay that much attention. Yeah, okay, fine. He said. So class 9 went on fine. And then in class 10, in class 10, my father used to he was a maths teacher. So people used to come. In between, I forgot to tell you something that. So my father used to give private tuition for maths. So students used to come to our house and then they will learn maths from my father. I will not sit there. I will actually sit alone and do my own things. But I will compete with them. So for example, when I was in 5, I will compete with 6th standard student and 6th, 7th standard student, 1 year ahead always. And I will get full marks in those things. So my maths was good always. So, but class 10, my father started not teaching, but I would say discussing language. So when I ask him about, let's say, normally people, what they do is that they just give you an answer to remember. My father would not do that. So there is a question and he would elaborate it, expand it. And I will keep writing it, he will keep dictating it, and then we will search for a very particular word at that very particular place. And both of us will be stuck that what would be the right word in this place. So it was kind of an exercise that will inculcate the literary sense rather than any answer to any question.
Yes.
So the answers became much longer that it can never be even used in an exam. But he would do that for some time, basically teaching us how to think in a creative way.
So Arnab, this is very fascinating what we are getting into.
Yeah.
Because it's also very kind of unconventional, because there is an element of depth of thinking. Although very nicely you're describing how you had a lot of emphasis on marks, and what I now see you, and we are going to discuss later,
is going to change a lot.
Because knowing Arnab, he is anything but a person who actually puts emphasis on this, because I know you have also articulated your thoughts on slow science and other things. We're going to come to that, which is very fascinating. I really like that particular part of it. You have registered these things in your mind, having also spoken to so many of the other colleagues and academics. What I find is there will be memories which will be there, but not granular. In your case, what I observe is that you have really granular memories of your experiences, which means that you first of all have been observant, and second of all you have registered that into your memory. Because see, all the information what you just mentioned, many a times people would actually forget it, and many a times they probably would have it, but they cannot actually kind of recover it very, very quickly. What was going on in your mind? Because I'm going to come to that evolution, and that's how you're really building it up beautifully. But I'm just curious, at that particular time, given that you also had very strong inclination towards maths
and literature at the same time.
Yeah, I can see that the influence from your father is really coming in. What was your thought process? Like, were you as child who was very kind of introverted and insular, or were you also somebody who was just normal but paid a lot of attention to your internal and external world?
Okay, so So the thing is that I tend to think myself as introvert, but you will probably not agree to that because people see me as extrovert. So at some point it got changed. So I will tell you, you probably can understand that. So I had a few friends. I'm talking about a time in between class 5 and 10, where I had a friend who was not academically that good, but influenced me by some other ways. He was economically richer. He had more resources to buy stuff, for example, a cricket ball or a good magazine that normally comes during our festival times, or a very nice chessboard, and a wooden chessboard with wooden pieces. And had an attic room, in the roof, where he could actually spend a time. The table would be big enough with a with a glass this thing on the top. So and a music system to play songs. These things would be luxury for me. So, but one thing I probably can tell that I never asked for anything as a child. Never demanded anything. If I got, it's fine. I would be happy. If I didn't get, it doesn't matter. So at that time, I really loved reading books, especially the we call it Sarodiya magazine, which comes during Durga Puja festival, and they actually come out 2 months before Durga Puja. So I would request those friends that within these 2 months they would finish probably reading. So during the puja time, they could lend me that books. That would be really great, and I will take that books, and that would be my utmost pleasure time, when I will go in the morning, visit pandals, and come back, have nice food, and then till the evening or afternoon time, I will actually read those, and that would be my best time. So I introspected a lot, until now I do. So that is my introvertness, you can say. But I played football, I played cricket, I did yogasana for quite some time when I was a kid. In fact, my father put me in a yoga school because of my child asthma, and that got cured, by the way. So I had a child asthma. He took me to several doctors. Nobody could cure it, but by doing yogasana, it got completely cured. And I continued the yogasana for quite some time.
We'll come to that, because I know that you are also deeply interested.
So that was a part. So the thing is, so that way I was not introvert, that I cannot talk to people, but I was always introspecting things, and that during that 5 to 10 that period, I didn't have a friend to really talk to, in terms of the way I was actually thinking. So not because they're not good in studies, like they were okay in studies, but they were thinking in a very different way. For example, my friend would listen to English songs, rap songs, which I did not like, or I didn't get any enjoyment out of it. But I would like to spend time with him at the same time, or I would love to play chess. I played with some other friends and spent time, but mostly I loved reading books, and that would be my pleasure time. My mother was always, like probably every mother, they were very strict on studies. My father used to sometimes protect me from her. For example, I'll tell you one story here. This is a very interesting story. So in class 8, the same Jagada sir I told you about, sir, he made a very tough question in maths. Very tough question means class 8 he gave certs. So, and I did 98 correctly. 2 marks I could not do, and that was a certs problem. Probably I didn't know how to handle. 2 to the power 5 or something, or maybe fractional power, something he gave, which I could not do. So 98 I did correctly. when the marks came out, I got only 72. My father knew about the marks and he didn't tell my mother for 7 days because that time he was studying library science. And his fear was that if he told my mother about the marks, my mother would be very upset. And that probably would also hamper his studies and things like that. So he told me later. But at the same time, while telling this, he told my mother also that this is the highest marks. 72 highest is the highest marks. My mother was not very happy. No, whatever, highest or not. Why 72 is like unthinkable. We are talking about 100 and 99 and all that, and we're talking about 72. And that was half yearly exam, I think not. And at that time the exams were 2.5 hours. So in fact it was very short. The paper was lengthy, it was tough, and time was short. So what I did was that while drawing parallelogram, I did not measure the opposite sides are equal or not. I did it, by seeing it. So the teacher cut 2 marks for each of those things, just so that I don't get, overconfident about those things, because otherwise it would be 98. There's no mistake. So, so it was like that. I'll tell you one more very nice, incident. In class 6, I think I came back after the exam, and in the exam there were questions and there were or questions. So I did all that, of course. But then my mother asked that, okay, you didn't attempt this one, but could you have done that? If there were no or, I said, yes, I could have done that. So my mother was like that. But she didn't put pressure as such, but I could understand her expectations, which later on affected me a lot. I'll tell you later, about that later. See, I understood the expectation. That's the most important thing. Whether you pressurize a child by telling to study or not, if your facial expression says otherwise,
yes,
that is enough for a child.
For the child.
Enough for the child.
They are very
because
sensitive.
they're always looking for happiness in parents' faces. Always. If a parent is saying that, okay, it's fine, beta, it's not a problem, but their facial expression is something else, then the child will get hurt. So probably my parents have, or my mother particularly, actually parents both had so high expectations, such a high expectation, that I felt that pressure. Although they never had to tell me to study, because I always studied. But later I will tell you about that. So now coming back to Jagadash sir, so class 9 he came back and told me they'll stand, right? Then in class 10, before 3 months, there was some tests going on. So there he was interviewing. There is a viva component where, so he didn't ask me any question. He just asked me, how is your studies going? Then he told me about a student who was apparently not that smart, but he got more than 800. Remember, 750 is the target.
Yeah, target. That's what
he got 800, but not from that school, from a different school. I again, listened to it and then threw it out. You can say in an arrogance, dismissive manner. Not I didn't show the dismissal on his face, but inside, I didn't take it seriously at all. I was immature, I can tell you that, and my quality of studies have gone down by then a lot. Meaning the way I would study in 6th, 7th standard is gone down.
It means that you're kind of losing meaning in that, because
no, I was just getting exposed to other things.
Other things.
Yeah,
it's you're actually expanding your curiosity.
Yeah, it's just growing,
exactly.
And then finding things, new things. That's it. Emotions, and then many other things that I would. So the way normally I see nowadays, kids study, I didn't do even close to that. So I thought that probably I'll get just 700 something at most. See, the thing is that I was good in literature, so I could write. So I didn't have to spend time in. I was good in maths, so I didn't have to spend time. Science also I could understand. So history, geography, and good thing about geography is that I remember that in class 9 I finished geography book. For some reason I liked the geography book, so I finished in class 9 the class 10 geography book. So that is also gone out of the way. I used to spend time in history. I remember I used to take notes from, the graduate books and other things. I used to spend time making notes on history and big quotations and all that. So I spent time in history. Maths I didn't have to. I was good. Literature in Bengali and all I was good. So, but even then, I could have studied much more probably. So I was feeling really bad that I could have studied more after the exam. Then the exam result came, and that was the day I think probably the best day in my life. So I came back, and people were standing. Then I was talking to my juniors. They were saying, "Oh, people are saying that you got spoiled. That no longer you are that Arnab." And I said, "Yeah, I know. What can I do?" And things like that. We were just chatting. And then teacher is apparently that time there was no online result out.
You have to go there.
So one teacher went and came back with the results, and he was telling the result to everybody. I was standing in a queue. It was a sunny day. I think it will be around lunchtime, maybe around that. And at that time I already started smoking.
Wow, is it?
Yes, that was class 10. So I smoked. Actually, just started. I didn't get addicted to it. So I smoked a cigarette. And then I came, and teacher came and started telling me the marks. Every subject. Normally he was telling the total marks for everybody. For me, he was telling every subject's mark individually. No, he first told the full marks, which was 809.
Wow! So you've gone over
over everything. In fact, and then I said, no, it could be 700. You must have made a mistake. Then he started telling me marks for every subject. He said, I have seen it so many times. I remember every subject marks. Unfortunately, I got only 88 in maths.
I expected by the way the story is going.
88. If I got that 12 marks, so I could have been within 10. I stood 23rd in West Bengal. So now, and I missed 5 marks in English because that was the first year when they started asking about supporting word for true false. Earlier they used to ask true false, and that is the year first time they started asking supporting statements, which I could have obviously given, but I missed it. So 5 marks there, 8 marks there together. So the guy who became 4th got 823 or something like that. And my regret is that if I studied well, I probably could have kept my teacher's word. Actually, it was so close. 23. And that 23 I counted because actually beyond 800, the marks come in the newspaper.
Okay.
So everybody's name and marks. So I could count how many people are there ahead of me. And that way I know it is 23. And there are like equal marks. So I'm counting everybody that are there, like degenerate marks also. So I missed by 3. So I actually couldn't, I couldn't make him right. So that was one of the regrets that I have. But at the same time, it was beyond my imagination. And this was, it was more of a curse than a boon.
Yeah, I can see that. It would surely affect a person's psyche, right?
Yeah. So this marks was not a boon. It was a curse.
So how was the response in your house related to this? Because they were expecting you to do well.
So before talking about that, so let me finish the school part.
Yeah.
So the teacher came and started telling all the subjects. He said that I have seen it so many times, this result, that I remember it, every part of it.
Nice.
And then the scenario was very different. Every teacher came and hugged me, and they could probably still smell the smoke.
Wow.
Because I never expected this, result or response or any of these things, right? And it was a surreal situation for me. It's like somebody is handed over, a dream thing. I was good in studies always, and my handwriting was also particularly good. I'll take a brief digression.
Yeah.
So when I joined the school in class 5, at the end of the exam, my headmaster called me. This story I don't remember, but my parents told me later on. And there were other teachers also. And he told me to write down something on a piece of paper. When I wrote it down, and he said, fine, you go. So apparently, they couldn't believe that it is a handwriting of a 5th standard student. They thought that probably somebody else written the paper. So that maturity of handwriting I had. So anyway, so every teacher hugged me and all that. And it was a record in the school. And it was beyond 800 means it came in the newspaper and all those. And parents, of course, were very happy. Very, very happy. My father took me to, the grandfather's place, because every good occasion we used to go and celebrate there. There is a big story of that place also. There's a new dimension, different things that happened in Balijuri, where I spent only the second year, full year. But every year during the Diwali time, we used to go and spend time. And that place still now remains almost like a village, where you can see still cows, grazing the grass, and then you can see a beautiful river. You can go and spend time under a tree and things like that, like what you do in a village basically. And during Diwali, all my family members, approximately 50 in total, would come, and then there will be separate cooks for actually making food, because there are so many people. And Diwali, and then followed by Bhai Pota and all that, would spend there, and then we'll come back, teary eyes, after 7 days. So that would be the ritual. But this time, just because of the result, we went there. And particularly, I don't remember anything after that. What happened is that in the meantime, apparently from some newspaper, somebody came to interview and all that, which of course I missed. But I didn't know, unfortunately, that with my marks, I could have gotten a direct admission at Narendrapur Ramakrishna Mission.
Oh, which you wanted to always go, right?
Yes. But we were given wrong information that we have to appear for tests, admission test. But admission test is not for those who get more than 800. So I could have gotten a direct entry. Instead, I joined another school, running a school, in my 11th, which was not a bad school, good school. I got, again, very good teachers there. Our physics teacher was Govindo Babu, who was almost like a friend to us. Our biology teacher, BTG, is a phenomenal teacher, very nice, extremely friendly. I'm surprised that, a school can have such a bunch of good teachers, in the one place. Maths teacher was Gandhi Babu, was very, very strict. People used to be afraid of him. A good thing about me is that I was never afraid. And apparently, Gandhi Babu also praised me, not in front of me, but I heard from somebody else. Indirectly. But, maths teacher is great. So, all science teachers are great in that school. And the school also has a good record. The record was there, 876 out of 1000. And of course, I thought that probably I would beat that, which I could not. I'll come back to that later on. Because I didn't study at all in my 11th, 12th. So I took science, and I met my friend Subhas Mukherjee.
Okay.
One day when I was working. But before that, I'll tell you that I made a new friend now. A friend who did not score as much. I scored 809. He was 776 or something. More than 750. Like, it was not bad. It was very good. but he was not as good as me. And then he was in that school where I was going in class 11. He was studying in that school previously. So that means he's expecting a guy getting more marks than him to come to that school and take over his, position, right? It's almost like that. But no, he received me in a very different way. So my first impression was that he's a guy who loves Amitabh Bachchan's movie and Kishore Kumar's song. He used to sing all the time Kishore Kumar's song, and he only watches Amitabh Bachchan's movie. Nothing else. No movie he watches except Amitabh Bachchan's movie. I found it very peculiar. Extremely matured in one hand and peculiar in other. That's such a strong choice, such a focused choice. How can a child get that? He was still a child, right? But he didn't talk like a child. He was, and I could understand his depth in philosophy in general, the way you look at people, look at things. Immediately he became my second guru. I used to revere him. Not that like he was very good in science also. He was very, good in all subjects, maths and all. Of course, we had competitions, very healthy competitions, but he would like me, and I would really look forward to his advice and things in many matters. And his family was very different, extremely relaxed. I couldn't ask my parents to give me money to go and watch a movie, bunking my school, but he could do that, and he will get the permission. It is that kind of a relaxed atmosphere. He later on told me that up to class 8, he would be nobody. Like, he would not get even 30-40 marks, barely passing marks. But he became topper in class 9 and 10. He started studying, and then he got marks. But nobody told him to do that. He did it himself. Nobody would have told him otherwise also if he did not study. It was very bizarre to me. And that's what probably attracted me towards him. And we had a lot of good time. I remember sitting in the corner of a road and laughing for 2 hours for nothing. We are just laughing. No reason. Nothing. No context. So that was so his name is Siddhartha. I am still in touch with him, so I can come back to him, his story later on. But in the meantime, I met Subhas in a lane.
Your old friend.
The one was my almost first guru, you can say. And he was still the same. He looks the same. He talks the same way. He has a very soft touch, like the way he used to speak. And he told me about his story. So the last time we know, his mother died. But the sad thing is that his father left after that.
Left him?
Left all of them. They were three brothers. So he was a younger one. He had 2 elder brothers. His father left all of them. And his elder brothers used to work, and he had to take care of the household. So he had to cook, buy stuff, and do everything else. And he said that he could have managed his studies even with that, but he started getting spoiled because nobody is there to take care. Nobody is there to even oversee. So like that, he, wasted his time. Obviously didn't do good enough result in 10th. So 11th, he just took commerce. So I felt really bad that here I am a guy who is privileged one. I felt myself privileged at that point, who had all the protections from parents, food, education, everything. If he had been given that opportunity, he would have done, definitely much, much better. That I still believe. He did that also later on, He went to Mumbai, established his business, at some point he came back from Mumbai, did something else. He's a guy who, I believe that he could do whatever if he wanted to do that, right? So now coming back to this guy, so of course I spent a lot of time with my new friend and the new guru, Siddharth, new guru. We had healthy competitions, physics, where we would actually spend time. In fact, it was very interesting. So, our physics teacher was very nice to us, in a way that almost friendly to us. Fantastic teacher. At the same time, he will make sure that we don't slack off on our studies. So one day I told him that okay, so he told me, he had an exam, so we had to give an exam for his particular course. So I had a bet with him. He said that if you get a full marks, you ask whatever you ask, I will give. So it was a 24 marks exam. For some reason 24 or 25 marks would be right, but it was 24 marks exam for some reason. I said bring down by 1 marks, because I have a problem with full marks. So make it 23. He said okay, fine. He had a nasal voice. Okay. Siddhartha and I studied together on that day. We laughed, joked and studied. We took it very lightly. Very light. I'll tell you, 11th, 12th standard studies was less important for wrong reasons. Many other things were more important.
It's unusual.
Life is more important.
That's unusual, no? Because
yes,
the maximum pressure you are subjected to is during 11th and 12th.
Maybe because we are not thinking ahead. Maybe because everybody thought that these guys are smart enough to understand that they have to study. So they kind of did not oversee how we were doing it. They probably had trust on us. And we wasted time. But I don't think as a waste, because I learned so many things that can still help me now in many, many ways. So I whenever I think of, many things I couldn't even cover. I studied so less. I didn't even finish the physics, some part of the chapter. I think 12th standard, there are some chapters I couldn't even finish. So, but whatever I studied well. And that was a exam on light. I studied well and I got 23, managed 23 marks. I asked him that, okay, now what are you going to give? He said, what do you want? I said, you give me 1 day leave. He said, no, that I cannot give you. Then I said, okay, your 1 month of salary. He gave that.
Is it?
Yes. Imagine a teacher sacrificing 1 month of salary and not 1 day of teaching. So definitely I had that influence. I forgot to mention that I had also teachers. I told you about Yogadasa sir, but there were other teachers also who influenced me in many ways. Only the most prominent ones. See, this Govinda, the physics teacher inspired us, this way. And then there was a biology teacher who always used to say that, you're not studying enough. He had so much faith on me. He said that first of all, he was not very happy that I was not studying. He was not happy. Then the day before exam, I came and met him. He said he could have studied. What did you do? Why did you not study? So, then the result came. I got 160 out of 200, later marks in biology. I got slightly less in physics, again for wrong reason, I believe. The paper was not corrected properly, I still strongly think. In fact, no, so physics I got, I think, 160. Chemistry I got less than a 160. 160 is later marks, out of 200, right? So I got 154 or something, and that is mainly because of the second paper, where I think I should have got 79 out of 80 in the written exam. I got only 53. So I seriously doubt that evaluation. But whatever. But biology teacher was so surprised. How come this guy didn't study and got 160? He said that, I can tell you, whichever exam you ever tried, you could have got that. He told me that. So he was so much. They loved so much. They loved us so much. Meaning, we used to demand things. For example, we used to demand that we will not come to this class, or we will study some other time, all that. But they would be so much, kind to us. So kindness, at the same time, they were extremely scholarly, because the way they teach was really good. So 11-12 was great for me, because I had good friends. I had also teachers, and in general I watched a lot of movies. In fact, I used to go and then just bunk the school and go to movies. And can you count the number of movies that I watched?
2 years?
In 2 years?
40?
Yes. 250.
What? It's every
week maybe. Or even more than a week, So basically you can understand, I did not study. Even then I became first. 838 was the marks. But Siddhartha also got the same marks. So both of us got the same marks. But I could not get into any of the competitive exams.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, neither the West Bengal nor IIT. I didn't even try, because the syllabus was not same. But West Bengal I could have tried. I did not, because I had very low preparation. I managed by bare minimum studying. Bare minimum. So whatever I managed, because I was good in literature, I English, and I could translate Bengali to English. So English also I got good marks. Bengali also I got good marks.
So it is probably because of the momentum you had gained
Probably.
at the beginning of your career in terms of the schooling.
Probably.
Maybe that probably
helped in my 11-12, and I managed. I just managed. But I didn't study seriously.
So, but Arnab, see, if you look at these...
And my father, very unhappy.
Was not happy with that?
Not at all.
Oh.
So in fact I can tell you at this point. So I got in my test exam, which is 3 months before that exam, I got very bad marks. And my father didn't know that is mainly because one subject marks was not out. So he was very upset, and I also didn't tell. But by the time I have changed a lot, right? I was also adamant. So he didn't talk to me for 2 months, 3 months, till my results came out of the 12th. And when it came out, and when I became first in the school, joined first with Siddharth, he said he could have been first. I said I became first. He said he could have been first. I said I became first. He said he could have been first in West Bengal. And then I realized the expectation. That hit me. Was that his expectation? I could have tried harder then. If that was his expectation, I met my criteria. I became first in the school. In fact, with that little study, whenever I used to count my marks before exam, it was always more than 800. Never became, ever again, even if I decrease the marks, it never became less than 800. So I knew that I was going to get more than 800 anyway. But then, that was enough for me. I didn't know my father wanted. Probably as a father now I understand why. But that time I did not understand. And when I did not get chance in my joint entrance examination, my mother didn't say anything. But her face said everything. And it hurt me so much that till now I remember the face. Exact that face. I remember. I'll never forget that. So that was the biggest failure. So after the great success of 10th standard, it was the great failure.
But in hindsight, do you really think that is a failure? Because you have...
I failed them. It is not failure for me. I am trying to tell you is that a child doesn't want any of this.
Yeah.
For them, it is the parents' happiness. That's all. If they see happiness in parents, they are happy. That's all. They don't understand what is needed, what is not needed, what will give them those kind of things they don't know. It is put onto them to some extent by parents, by neighbors, by teachers, peers. They know that they have to become engineer or a doctor or a professor or a scientist. Do they know how that life is? What is the life of a doctor? What is the life of an engineer? What is the life of a scientist? Can they experience that life? Can they evaluate that life will be good or bad, and then they can decide no, all that because of expectation of somebody else.
Beautifully.
So if I knew that my mother would be so unhappy, I would probably try harder. If she told that, okay, no, you have to get it, otherwise I'll feel bad, probably I'll try harder. As a challenge itself, I'll try. For me, it was a game. You tell me, I'll try. And I'll tell you what little bit later on, that same thing I told my father also. So then, see, my marks was not bad. I got into Jadavpur University, and Jadavpur University is very difficult to get in because there is no examination. It is through marks only. And science marks. Only science marks. I didn't get physics there. Overall marks, if they considered, I would have gotten. Even I was highest there also. But they only considered science. And unfortunately, this time also my maths marks was 188 out of 200. So not good.
188 out of 200, not good.
Not good at all. Physics 160, chemistry 154, not good. So I didn't get physics in Jadavpur. I wanted to take physics. I love maths. So I got chemistry. I could have gotten maths though. But a lot of people said that you will not get any job, which is so wrong. Because later on I knew that if I took maths, probably I could have done MCA and I could have gotten a job or many other opportunities. I came to know later, and I loved maths, so I could have taken maths.
Yes.
But people said chemistry has jobs. What kind of jobs now I know after an MSc chemistry gets. So I took chemistry and I did not like studying that. Unfortunately, I'm a chemistry professor here.
Arnab is a chemistry. Arnab, this is something, I think we are really taking a very important kind of a viewpoint here. You beautifully kind of painted your childhood experience in terms of education. It's actually a unique thing. I have to explicitly mention, because somebody, as I mentioned, who has thought through such a granular level and described this it doesn't happen usually in this podcast. Because of the fact that you have really observed these things very closely, I have at least one or two questions. One is, see, this aspect of external expectation and an internal desire, does that meet at some point of time? And second is, what is important? And especially for a child, it's such a difficult decision to make. Right? Because, a lot of things will happen because of accidents.
I will tell you, see, these two different points, very interesting 2 points that you made. External pressure, external pressure you said, right? And internal desire, right? External expectation. Very nice 2 points. The way I would see that, and I also felt that for a child, they are very different. Internal external expectation and internal desires are very different. Internal desires will be go and play in a field, be with the nature, probably jump into a pond or run around and play kites, play cricket. That will be internal desire. What is external expectation? That you sit there in a small place with lots of books and study, even though you don't like it. Because expectations coming from experienced people who know what that child is going to face. I'm not criticizing them, because they know that they are going to face that, therefore they are preparing them for the future.
But at this particular point, I understand that you're really setting up the child for something which is realistic and which is actually expected of that child later on to grasp and do something. But is this the place where they are losing their wonder? Because there is a lot of learning which also happens in the other way.
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely. So we don't know where they are losing it, but they are losing their wonder for sure. I would say it is like slowly accumulated things that happen. And at some point, definitely goes. You will not believe how much I fought with my parents on this particular point, that I will do my way and still will make them satisfied with about what I wanted to become. So, and neighbors expectation. So, are you going to be a doctor or an engineer? When I didn't get chance, they said, then a professor.
Oh man.
In West Bengal, these are the three. Nothing else exists. At least existed. I don't know now.
But they guessed it right. Third one was correct, right?
Right, probably. I remember still, I opened the door and then I said, so, professor? I said, probably.
Wow. That is the level
of expectation. And see, I could handle that because I was already good at it. Imagine a guy. I still remember when I was in class 8, there were two kids, arguing with themselves who will become, who will get more marks than the other. Actually, in the whole class, probably they will be 30th or later. But their all desire is to get more marks than the other guy. That's all. I can tell you that guy is probably economically more successful than me right now. He is smart, witty, spending his time, effectively, earning more money, having a good business and all that. He was in the 30th. The guy who, so in my class, I told you, right, that I got 809. So second marks, there was nobody in 700. Second was 689.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
There was a big gap.
Yeah.
But the second guy and the third one is a good heart surgeon now. Famous heart surgeon, actually.
Excellent.
And in West Bengal, I'm still in touch. He is now much bigger in stature. Another guy became, I think, manager of a big zone of banking system in some other area. So they're all successful. It doesn't really matter
exactly
how much marks you got. But for me, getting that marks was important for my parents' happiness. So what was my desire? So a child often aligns their desire with their parents' desire. Sometimes they fight against that. At that time they will cry, and other time, see there, I would say, it is my understanding, I don't know whether it is right or not, but I think a child's desire to see happy faces, happy faces in their parents. So if the parents become happy, they will be happy.
Happy, yeah, you're right.
So now we have to also understand as a parent that how much we can really push for their studies or other things, and when to stop. It's very difficult choice. If you don't tell them to study, of course they will not. If you push too hard, then it will be bad. So the fine balance is different for everybody. So it is a hard problem. There is no ready-made solution for it. Every child is different. The child and those child who actually are introvert and introspect a lot, it is much harder.
That's harder.
Much harder.
Yeah, because
you can't even understand what they're thinking. And I was one of that child. Parents probably couldn't even understand the way I was thinking, what I was thinking. So of course I went into Jadavpur University. I got there, and I couldn't even speak in English. In Jadavpur University, of course, we were speaking in Bengali, but the subject we had to study, it was in English, and I had to first time study English books, which was very big and thick, like organic chemistry book, Morrison Boyd, big thick volume, and I was in hostel for the first time, total freedom. So I studied even less, much less compared to even my 11th, 12th. And I was not good at all. Meaning, forget about being topper. I used to call myself second from the bottom. But interestingly, nobody else considered me that way.
Nice.
So they used to come, sometimes and discuss with me, ask me if they had a difficulty or doubt. They would come and ask me. I said, why are you asking me? Nobody guy. But they would still value my opinion. Somehow I was somebody among them, where they did not judge me by my marks in the exam. In fact, I dropped one exam. I used to do private tuition that time. And not on chemistry, on maths. So I used to teach kids maths.
You still had that.
I had that interest. So I used to teach maths and earn a little bit of money for my daily expenses. So so I dropped. I didn't study, so I dropped one exam, which I covered later on. The Jadavpur has that kind of a system. Organic chemistry I loved because the teacher I got was phenomenal. In fact, I remember after one semester of organic chemistry, I took an IIT paper. I could solve all the problems just by one semester. So it was really good. Physical chemistry, anyway, I should be good at because I liked physics, right? So physical chemistry itself I dropped actually because I did not study. It was kinetic theory of gases topic. I feel so bad now. I teach thermodynamics. I gave a full NPTEL lecture of 30 hours.
Yes, I'll be linking that in the show notes. We'll come to that point.
And thermodynamics, I'll tell you, I did not understand anything. Carnot cycle was something that was so tough. I remember after first semester I was going home. I didn't understand mainly because I didn't study. That is to be very clear. I did not study. And the teacher was not good, at least on that particular topic. I couldn't even understand his accent. His accent was a foreign British accent. So I couldn't even understand, being a guy from a village. So I was going back by a train to my home. I was thinking, what did I learn? In the whole semester, I didn't learn anything. I felt empty. You know, that emptiness, I don't know whether you have felt ever or not. You will only feel when, you have gone to a very low situation in your life. I didn't, being such a, hyped guy, I wouldn't say good guy, but a hyped guy, I didn't get any, competitive exam. And even in Jadavpur University, I'm not even in the first 10. And with more and more time, I was slipping away more and more. I was getting only C's and D's in my exam. Whereas I was getting A's in maths and physics without studying maths. In fact, I stopped actually writing maths exam. I used to write till I will get B. Like I will not answer 15 marks. Out of 50 marks, I would not answer 15 marks. I will leave it so that I don't get A.
You are doing it on purpose?
Yes.
Wow.
Because that pass course marks is not going to help me. I was frustrated with that. I was extremely frustrated. And the hostel, nobody used to study. Engineering students used to not, they had their own ways to get marks, and they will be all around me. I will enjoy with them. Chemistry students need more studying, which I didn't have the environment for. And I was not that kind of a guy who would actually study. I have changed a lot. I won't study like a studious guy. I will rather know how to not study and, get things done. That kind of a guy. I will spend time in talking to my friends, writing poetries, and those kind of things. So, obviously, but my friends were very respectful, very friendly. I did not understand why. Maybe they saw something which I really value, and I value their perspective. The fact that they treated me that way gave me confidence. So now I'm talking about a new set of friends in my BSc, where one guy was there who had a photogenic memory. Whatever he studied, he remembered. So no problem there, right? He would spend several times and still. One guy was to study so much that in a 300 page of organic reactions, in one particular reaction did not mention a temperature but a delta sign. Delta sign means temperature. But temperature value is not mentioned. I asked him that what is the temperature for this reaction. He told me that there is a delta sign, there is no temperature mentioned. I was frustrated. I was good in maths also because he was a good student. He is now in USA in National Lab. So the point is that another set of good friends, very, very good friends, and all are smart, all are good. Some of them would study some of them would be, would have a different viewpoints. One guy particularly was the Bengal champion in badminton. He was very good friend of me. So I asked him one day, can you win a game by taking me as your partner? He said, it's not chemistry. I can do that. He beat Bengal champion that time, very easily. He was a junior national champion. I played TTO. He never played TT. I played TTO. And that time I was practicing every day for 3 hours. I used to play till 3 o'clock in the morning. After dinner, 9 o'clock we'll start and play 3 o'clock, up to 3 o'clock. So I played TT once with him. My God, you won't believe. He will return the ball again and again. I couldn't defeat him in TT. And he was not a regular player. Just because of the badminton, he had that sense, right? So he was a phenomenal guy. Abir. He is no more, by the way. So he had an asthma attack later on when he was working in a site. So he later on changed his field from chemistry to engineering. He got it through sports quota, and after studying for 3 years, I had another friend who also didn't like to. So I used to hang around with students who did not study, who were like me. So one guy was very good in English. He later on joined, British Embassy, roaming around all over the world now. Abid, whom I was talking about, badminton player, he did engineering later on and got a good job. Another guy wanted to join NDA. Another one was in a very, very big post in a company. So they're all doing good, but none of them were actually the toppers in the class, and me included. But toppers actually liked me also. I was friends with the toppers also. I was friends with the non-toppers also. So, and I had another world in my hostel where I had, as my friend, I had computer engineers and then mechanical engineers, seniors, computer engineer, friend, and all of that. In my hostel. Or a guy who joined TIS, Tata Institute of Social Science. It was phenomenal, actually. He, I think, later on joined a very big news agencies. So I had very different world in my hostel, very different world in my in the department. And
what was your parents?
Parents did not know anything about it.
So
and
just
were, going through very tough time. So my father used to send me, my everyday expenses were 10 rupees. So my hostel fee was 300 rupees and everyday expenses was 10 rupees. So in 10 rupees, I had to manage my food, like, break, tiffin and other things. And it was a luxury to have outside food, which I used to do once a month. And let's say one roti and chicken would be 18 rupees. And that would be a luxury. That would do once a month. But these things did not bother me.
Exactly.
These things were less important. I had much more fun in many other ways. So, but the studies were getting suffered. And I was getting worried. So, second year I was worried. By then I came to know about IISc Bangalore. Also I came to know that IISc Bangalore minimum requirement is 60%. And in Jadavpur, they never used to give marks. They used to give grade. So A, B, C, D. And C will have a range. B will have a fixed range. Those ranges are not like our relative grading. The range is fixed. So, putting my numbers to the lowest of the range, if I counted, it would be very hard to get even 60% for me. So, then I thought that I came to know about IISc and I came to know that if I get there, then I will get some money. Because in PhD students, that time used to get 2,000 rupees. And in PhD also will be secured and I will get money. And I had to marry my current wife.
You already were in touch with her?
Yes. Okay. So I'm not touching upon that story too much. But so we knew each other from class 10 onwards. And because she used to live like 50 meters away from my house.
It's a neighbor.
Yeah, almost like, that building.
Okay. It's not the college.
Not in the college.
Okay.
So she used to come to my father for tuition. in class 6, and then later on, just she used to live there, very close by. So I had to pass her house every time. So then I knew that if I join IISc, then of course I could marry her. So that means I had to get 60%. So I started studying in third year.
Nice.
And I started mugging up things which I never did before. See, for example, analytical chemistry, cement preparation. I had to literally mug up, right? And I never thought that I can actually remember stuff, cram to my memory. I got 80% marks in analytical chemistry. I said, no, not bad. I can also cram whatever. So one good thing that happened in Jadavpur was that there was an exam in physical chemistry, electrochemistry. See, normally in Jadavpur University, which I don't like about Jadavpur University, my teachers, if they listen, should pardon me, is that they used to ask questions from the notes. So anybody reading the notes would get very good marks, even if they did not understand. And they were my friends like that. Of course, those guys are also working in a big companies now. That guy would just mark up and get 70% marks, and I will try to understand and stuff, and I will get very less marks. So one exam was there in electrochemistry, and amazingly that teacher gave 6 questions. 6 of them were problems. None of them were from the notes. I got A. I got highest marks. And that boosted my confidence enormously. I said, okay, I am not a nobody. People were crying because they failed in that exam. I could even probably got better marks than the topper. He also probably got A. But I got good marks. I got A, that much I know, and I was not happy, I was relieved. I thought that maybe I have hope in me. So then I started studying third year, and I got good marks. Third year there was a very good subject called retrosynthesis, where a lot of people were struggling, and I could actually do stuff. Then we came for IISc exam.
So now you had the exposure to the information about IISc.
Right.
So you already started preparing for the exam.
Correct.
Or the entrance?
Yes. Not for entrance, but I started paying attention to my studies on my third year. But I never thought that I would get into IISER. But then I had IISc. And then I had I had a senior who was also like me, coming from a village, and I also didn't see him studying a lot, but he got into IISc as a PhD student. So that also is kind of an inspiration for me to see that, okay, if he can get it, I probably can also try. And I came to know about IISc from him. And also one of my, incidentally, that person is a faculty in IISER Kolkata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who is it?
His name is Priyadarshi De.
Okay.
He's in chemistry. Very good scientist. And then my immediate senior from Jadavpur University. So Priyadarshi De used to stay in my hostel in the next room. So I was in room number 26. He was in 25 in the 3rd floor. Whereas Samrat Mukherjee was my immediate senior from Jadavpur University.
Wow. Okay. IISER Mohali.
IISER Mohali.
If you are listening,
so he
will surely come on my podcast.
So he got into IISc as an PhD student, integrated. So again, that was also an inspiration that students from Jadavpur University is getting admission in IISc, because IISc people used to think very highly, and then very difficult to get in and things like that. And for me, of course, it was even more difficult because I was a nobody in terms of my class and all that. So since I was a nobody, I did not go with the toppers to write the exam, entrance exam. I went with my friends who were nobody in the class.
Okay.
I told the topper. So the topper said, we are going to write the exam. When you are coming, I said, no, I'm not coming with you. You are different. I'm different. I am going separately with my other friends, who are all like-minded people, did not study, very low this thing. And I remember I went to the station, I looked at something and said, okay, I wish this question would come in the exam. And by the way, my form number was Very interesting. It was 420. And so somehow by 420 I'll get into IISc. So then I wrote the exam and I could barely manage to write, 52 out of 100 or something. Then the topper came. His name is Ambarish. Probably if he's listening, he will really scold me. So he said, Arnab, somehow I don't know why he asked my opinion. Arnab, I have written 86 out of 100. Do you think I'll get chance? For the interview. I was so angry at him. I wrote a 52 and I was expecting to be called for the interview, and he's asking me after writing 86 marks. I said, no, nobody will going to call you. You're not going to get a chance. So in fact, I was called for the interview.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I was called for the interview. Of course, he was also called, and everybody, a few others also were called, and I booked the ticket for IISc Bangalore. So first ticket to Kolkata to Chennai Coromandel Express, and then another train from night train. I forgot the name of the train.
It's an overnight train.
Overnight
it was
train, night, and it'll reach in the morning.
Reach the Bangalore.
And of course, I couldn't get a ticket, so there was a head office quota, and apparently for interview and all, there is a head office quota through which they can get. So they said that it is confirmed and all. And when I went to the station, I saw my my seat number as S326. See, I remember because I have probably told that to many people, or I thought about it many times. So I remember that S326 was my coach. But I didn't know how to check it, and I didn't come to the S3 compartment itself. See, outside the compartment also there is a list. I didn't check my name there. I checked the name in the other poster board. Normally there is no discrepancy, right? But in my case there was. And I got into the train and I saw somebody else is sitting there already.
Okay.
Remember, I'm traveling alone. First time such a long distance. No parents, nobody.
Nothing.
I'm going alone. And I didn't travel such a long distance before myself. And I see somebody else. He said, what is your ticket? I said, this is my ticket. He said, no. My ticket is also S326.
Wow.
What to do then? I don't know where my seat is. He said, you go outside and see your name is not there. And the train already started from Howrah station. I think it actually crossed Howrah station 2 hours later, Kharagpur station. I think it has already crossed Kharagpur that time. It was evening time.
Yeah, the Coromandel actually
evening time. He said that okay, the TT is there, and in the other compartment you go and talk to him. Was it like, yeah, I think it was like that. I think it is like that. So what happened is that I had to talk to him, but in between there is general compartment, so I cannot go through the train.
Yeah, through the train,
and train is not going to stop. So I got down from the train. So the train then stopped in a signal, nowhere, in a no man's land kind of a place.
And you don't know
it was an
for how
evening
long?
time. I don't know for how long. It was evening. There was no platform, nothing. I got down from the train. I had a bag. I was alone. Got down from the train, ran through the outside, across the general compartment, and tried to get into the other one. And they were not letting me get in.
Oh man.
Because it's the evening time. That guy is knocking. I said, I have ticket. Please get me in. I said, nobody is opening the door.
Shoot.
And I was evening. Because otherwise I cannot meet the TT. I cannot get my bath, right? So I had to get it, and then next station is far away. Probably I still should have waited. But I did that. And then somehow somebody, and they couldn't hear me also because the windows were closed. So I was just knocking, I was showing the ticket. Because normally they don't let other people go. So I fortunately got in. And I got in, and I saw huge rush around the TT. Huge rush. It's impenetrable rush. Like so many people were like, around him checking their tickets and all that. I said, no way I can, I was a thin guy then also. Like actually then I was very thin. You won't imagine my weight that time.
Yeah.
My weight was 50 kg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very skinny. I thought that, there's no way. So I asked somebody, do you have a ticket? So she said, yes, I have a ticket. And she was very peacefully sitting. Nobody else is sitting. Everybody else is around the TT. So I went and sat beside her. I said, TT will have to come to check the ticket.
Yeah.
That time
you will sort it out.
So it's like, being in that particular place. So then TT came. I showed the ticket. I said, see, I saw that it was S326, but check my this thing with all other compartments and tell me where my seat is actually. He said, your seat is in S440. I have to again get down now.
Okay.
But fortunately, the next station came and I went to S440. And that time, one guy was peacefully sitting there. He was very unhappy seeing me. I said, after a long effort, I got this seat. He said, but you got it before sleeping. Right time you got it. You got it the right time. So I got into the train. The train was, train was late by 17 hours.
17 hours?
Yeah. So instead of reaching at 5 p.m. in Chennai, we reached in the early morning or something. Then I had the next ticket, so I changed the ticket to some other morning train. I somehow I remember I caught the morning train.
Yeah. Wow.
And I didn't have any reservation. So I paid 25 rupees for a seat in general compartment to the coolies. And they got me a seat. Seat means in a cramped seat. So 8 hours I have to travel like that. There were nuns sitting. So we were having conversation. And I could not even speak in English properly. He said, you're going to IISc, you cannot even speak in English. How do you think they will get chance there? So I said, they were kind of curious about that. But at the same time, I felt insulted. So I said, no, they are looking for science. They don't look for, English speaking ability. If my science is good, they will probably select me. And I went there and the interview happened. And I did okay, I think, because they asked me from where I will ask you questions. I said retrosynthesis, the organic chemistry. And they asked me only one question, and they probably thought that this guy is so confident, maybe he's very good. They didn't ask me anything on retrosynthesis. They asked me from the portions which they thought that I would not be strong at. Somebody is good in retrosynthesis will not be that good in drawing log x or tan x.
That is just like playing to your strength.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
So I blazed through that because, they are asking me math.
Finally, the math actually really.
So it worked in a very interesting way, actually. They asked me thermodynamics question, which I know. There was a. I would like to talk about a professor called K. Kishore, who happens to be Priyadarshi Day's advisor. Coincidentally, he was there. And they asked me about entropy question.
One of your favorite topics.
Right now, that is the most favorite thing for me. But the answer that I gave was wrong. So they were asking that, the entropy of the universe is increasing. So what will happen eventually? So I said a lot of things which are okay, but they don't make sense. Right now I would have answered it very differently. Right now that Shio Kaku has a YouTube video on what will happen. In the future, in the future it will be a cold heat bath and nothing else. That would be the answer actually. But I said a lot of, and K. Kishore kept on saying, he's right. For whatever reason, he said that.
See, I should just on a lighter note. You probably are always right compared to Kaku because Kaku also does a lot of kind of absurd things. Yeah. Please continue.
Yeah. No, maybe this was a video about Kaku or somebody else about the future of So what will happen to the universe the way every day entropy is increasing. So what will happen to the universe in the end? So there was a relevant question. And an easy question if you really understand what entropy is, right? But of course, I didn't have that understanding. I said something because of K. Kishore, something happened. But at the end of the day, I was not shortlisted.
Oh, is it?
No, I was not shortlisted. But my ticket was 2 days later. So I spent time. I didn't even expect that I would get shortlisted, right? Somebody who doesn't study that well, how can you expect? I did something. They saw my marks, good marks in 10th and 12th. They probably thought that this guy has potential. I also showed my inclination towards physical chemistry. And you know how difficult it is to get students in physical chemistry, physics. So probably they thought, maybe he's a good guy, in that, that direction, maybe. Like the way kind of we think right now that we'll get a student in a particular area where you don't get students. So then next day I just roamed. I borrowed a bicycle from somebody. I roamed around the campus. I just spent my time. I met a very nice guy. His name was Madhavan. He was the topper in whole South India, universities. He could speak 7 languages. Just impressive. He came for IISER interview, but he said that he was not going to join. He knew that he was going to get, and he got also. But he already said that he was not going to join. And that time what happened is that somehow, in West Bengal, Presidency College used to be very good.
Very reputed.
And very reputed. And that time they were not somehow allowed to sit for IIT Kanpur exam. Normally they go to IIT Kanpur and then go abroad for PhD. That is the trajectory. Instead, that year, all of them came to IISER.
Oh, okay.
So the competition was really high. And they were all like superb students. 7 of them came, 7 of them got chance.
All of them.
2 of them could not join because they didn't have 60%. 5 of them joined. So it's like that. And one of them is Pinaki Talukdar.
Oh,
who happens to be our family.
Our colleague.
So what happened is the next day my name was not there. So I roamed around and all that, In the night, I talked to Samrat. I think up to almost 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And then 4 o'clock I went to sleep. And it was very cold. Bangalore is beautiful, right? So from Chennai, when you go to Bangalore, when the train reaches near Bangalore, you will be shivering, right? And that feeling that in the summer itself you can shiver without AC. The hostel was so cold in the morning, unthinkable. At least from the place I was coming, unthinkable. So, but those experiences were so new, so different.
Very nice.
And IISER by itself has a great charm, right?
Of course.
And then what? And that interview was also scary. Like so many people were sitting and all. So next day, 4 o'clock. Next day I went for lunch. Evening is my train. I went to lunch. And Madhavan, who was always sitting, near IPC department. I made friends with him. He became my friend. But actually he has no friend. He was just staying there all the time. He came to know that second day, after a whole day's interview, one guy was selected and they put my name back in.
Oh, wow.
So 3 students got selected on after the first day. After the second day, 1 more student, and then 5th name was mine.
Okay.
I realized that something has to do with the 420.
420
application number. So my interview was in the evening.
Oh, okay.
Before my train. So I went for the interview. And I understood that I'm going to get second interview. Then I was coming back. I had no ticket.
Okay.
No ticket. So Bangalore to Chennai was in general compartment. Where I had to just sit with my spine straight for a whole night because another person is actually behind me. So even in the one seat, there are 2 people. One is leaning on the back seat, another one, so I kind of stayed awake the whole night. I was probably sitting near the door. And everywhere people are there, right? So next day, again, I had no ticket for... See, they gave tickets for going, not for coming back, the head office quota. So next day while coming back, I had another friend and their family coming back. So they said that, why don't you cancel your ticket and come in our train? We will share the seats and all. So I came back with them. And that was my IISc interview story. There are many small things that I missed. But then I joined IISc. There were a bunch of very bright students and very different environment. Main thing that I liked is that they didn't ask questions from the notes.
Yeah.
So, however they taught, that's not so important as the questions. Questions used to be always amazing, very, very, innovative. You had to think a lot to answer those questions, which I really liked. And I did okay.
So one thing I want to ask, because we have discussed this in the past,
right?
I felt that there is a point we should raise here, is that you learned coding.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Yeah, please tell about that. Yeah.
So I remember. So there is again a very interesting story in Jadavpur University. Like other universities, in the science stream students has to also have a language as a subject. In Jadavpur, you could take programming as a subject.
Oh, okay.
So I took basic programming as a subject, but I did not know anything about it.
Yeah.
3 days before exam, I got hold of a book, very small, thin book on basic programming. It's not a book; it's a booklet. That too, very, very small booklet. And I showed it to a computer engineer. I said, "Okay, teach me." He taught me enough that I could program that given 3 sides of a triangle, whether it's a right angle triangle or not, I could program that much in basic.
Nice.
So that was my programming knowledge before in fact, one of my computer engineer friend asked me, "Oh, you are learning programming?" Okay, fine. Tell me where the Q is in the keyboard.
Okay.
He was basically making fun of me, right? Q is the most prominent place.
Yeah.
And later on, I know there is a QWERTY keyboard. Q should be on the, of course, not in the French keyboard though. French keyboard is AJAT.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell him because I never saw a computer.
Wow.
So first time I saw a computer actually was while giving the exam, and there was an interview, which is of course easy because they were asking how to write, for example, an expression with brackets and all. It's almost same as math, so I could manage. After coming to IISc, now in IISc we had 2 very good friends. One of them is a faculty in IISER Bhopal, another is a faculty somewhere in the US.
Nice.
Both of them were super duper programmer. They were like champions in C programming. One is Naveen, who had again a photographic memory, good at everything, all sports. He never took notes in class. He remembered everything. Extremely sharp. He's like amazing guy. But he wasn't the topper. The topper was Jayakrishna Nandakumar from Presidency. Phenomenal guy. He's actually from Kerala, but he was brought up in West Bengal, so he could speak Bengali also fluently and Keralite also fluently. And very nice person to talk to. He's a faculty in Michigan now, Ann Arbor. Fantastic guy. I'll talk about him also at some point. So these 2 guys. So the programming class was there. Class was okay, but the TA in the class was Chitra. I should name her because she was, so much helpful in teaching us programming. So every Friday night we would go to SERC and program till morning.
Wow. Okay.
And Saturday morning we'll have breakfast and then go to sleep. So whole night we'll have programming. So that's how basically we learn programming. And Naveen and Vardarajan, who is in IISER Bhopal.
Yes, IISER.
So Varda was already a very good programmer, and Chitra was a TA. They helped to learn programming actually, and I got interest in programming very quickly because as soon as I reached IISc and came to know there is something called theoretical chemistry that exists that doesn't require to do anything chemistry, I immediately went and talked to my advisor, Professor Biman Bagchi, that I wanted to work with him. And in PhDs were in high demands because they were considered to be very good. So he wanted to take me, and then that's about it. And I did well in there was a course called Basic Mathematics, which was not basic at all, but it was taught by Ram Sesha, a well-known quantum chemist.
Yes.
And I did well. I got A in that course. So everything that indicated to me that I can do in this area. So programming was, I really loved programming, and I really loved the problem that I first got in my PhD, which was a mode coupling on mode coupling theory, which was full mathematics. Actually, my senior was Sarika, who is a faculty in NCL.
NCL.
So she worked on mode coupling theory for one component system, and I was supposed to extend that to two component system. So I kind of followed her footsteps and then did that, and really enjoyed it. Later on, I shifted to more computational problems, but I loved doing the analytical problem and it was, believe me, it was just math. So there was no chemistry there. Like traditional chemistry was not there in any other problem.
Yeah.
You know, it was all projection operator technique and solving math problem. You know, so I really liked it, and I can tell you one thing: I worked very hard in my PhD. So in 7 days, I used to every day come to lab at 11 o'clock, go back to my room at 2 o'clock, and we worked even Sundays morning. Only Sundays afternoon, after lunch I rest off. 6 days plus morning, Sunday. And Sunday morning was not a relaxed day. It's also very intense day. Mainly because of my boss, who was also very intense. So I worked very hard in my PhD, which probably made up a lot of backlogs beforehand. And I remember taking a course in physics department. So for example, every PhD student has to take a course. So I took a course on quantum chemistry, which was available, and something else. After 1.5 months, my boss asked, which course you are taking? I said, I'm taking these two courses. Why are you taking quantum? Why not StatMech? I said, there is no StatMech offered by our department. No, I know there is a StatMech being offered by physics department. I said, but that's advanced StatMech by Chandan Das Gupta, and already 1.5 months is over. He said, okay, even if you get a B, it's fine. And already I know people are struggling there because he was teaching, but fortunately he was teaching from Hansen and MacDonald, the theory of simple liquid, which I was anyway reading for my PhD.
Yes, nice.
So 17 lectures was over. 17 lectures, 2 assignments. So when I went and talked to the TA, Buddhada, he said, okay, next Thursday we have that TA discussion session. Before that, submit 2 assignments. So I kind of took help from others and submitted the assignments. And Chandan Das Gupta was a phenomenal teacher.
Very good.
He's a phenomenal teacher. In fact, anybody can understand sitting in his class. Later on, they might forget, but in the class, he will make sure that everybody understands. So I understood things, and I managed to get away with a B in the course. Although it was an open note course, I can tell you, like, in the midterm exam, I saw people crying. I saw TAs starting to solve the problems on the board during the exam. They couldn't do it. And I had a physics friend who got less marks than me in midterm and said, okay, Arnab, don't come to me now for any discussion. And in the end term, it was an open note, infinite time.
Nice.
So I started at 10. Everybody started at 10. I was the first one to submit at 3 o'clock. 10 to 3. Imagine. I was very hungry. So anyway, so that that's the way PhD journey was. Very intense. And then I managed to finish it. Finish it meaning, there was no finish in PhD, as you know. At some point, my boss thought that, okay, enough is enough.
Submit.
And then, submit. And then I went for a postdoc to France.
What was a broad lesson from your PhD?
The thing is that, lesson meaning, of course, I knew that hard work will pay off. That's the only thing. My boss also used to say, smartness and all is okay, but if you don't work hard, then you're not going to get anything. So hard work is very important, and dedication. And I saw such a high dedication from my guide. He used to come every day after dinner. So anyway, he spend whole day, and then he will go back, go home, take shower, have dinner, and come back at 11 o'clock and start asking questions. What happening? We will submit a paper, let's say 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, like noon, and then 2 o'clock he will ask that what's new. So we were on our toes all the time, but he also had the tenacity to keep following things, and with new ideas and with passion. So it is very rare to see such a passion. Like right now, he is retired and I think a national chair professor.
Yeah, he's.
So now itself, you will find papers with new ideas.
Yes, he's prolific, right?
Yeah, and his enjoyment. So I only wish that I had that dedication towards science, which unfortunately is not there. That
joy.
kind of dedication that he derives from doing science, that is only possible if you can see it from that angle. I probably cannot. For me, science is okay. I can do things. Science is just one part of learning for me. Like if I learn something new, I get happy. So, and that new can be anything. So science is just one of them, because science gives you a option to chance to learn new things every day. Yes. That's why you may like science.
Exactly.
But if I get a chance to learn new things every day from any profession, I think I will like that profession. Because I have realized, I have introspected a lot and realized that only thing that gives me happiness, or out of the many things, that the most prominent thing that give me happiness is the thing is learning new things.
Yes.
That is that's why I never watch a movie twice. Never read a novel twice. I always go for something new to learn or get something new. I think for me, science is not. I see many of my friends also, colleagues also, who can see the beauty in science in a much deeper way than I can see. For me, science is a problem to solve, like other problems to solve. But for me, there are bigger problems to solve. Probably mainly because the level at which I am doing science is not deep enough. That could be a reason. Or it could be that I don't have the eye to look at science that way. But there are mysteries in the world that kind of mesmerize me also at the same time.
One of the other things, again, we have kind of discussed in some context. One thing I really want to ask you about is your thoughts on the slow science. You know, that is something you also had shared some information.
Right. Slow science, I'll give you an example. So I joined PhD, and there is, for in PhD students, there is a comprehension viva and all these things there. After I think 1.5 years, like you get MS degree and all. I had 4 papers by then from Bagchi's lab.
Okay. That is anyway prolific lab.
Yeah, and I thought that what I'm doing, writing so many papers, I'm not learning anything. So I slowed it down myself. I started reading books like Morse and Feshbach, which I very tough. I didn't even understand fully, and I started working on a problem. So there was a rotational relaxation problem. People normally use spherical cell. I was taking an ellipsoidal cell. It was a hard problem. And I spent 2.5 years on that problem, not writing any paper. And my boss was not very happy. I couldn't solve that problem because it could not be solved. It could be solved to a certain extent, but not fully. Otherwise, it will be just numerical solution. I got a CPL paper at the end of 2.5 years, but I was very happy because I thought that I learned something. Later on, when I went for postdoc, 2 years of postdoc, and then I extended for 2 more years on a different problem. But essentially, I took 2.5 years to work on one problem, which actually got me the job here. So that also gave me a sense of learning something new. So for me, what is important is to learn something. I told you, right? I get happiness by learning something new. And that learning can be as simple as learning how to write a paper, or learning how to read a paper, or learning, how to, I'm talking about only education in this thing, learning how to use an AI tools for, searching your, required information. Anything that is new that you can learn to make your life better. I like that. That gives me much more enjoyment than, appreciation, sometimes not so willing appreciation from peers that after publishing a paper, and I hated rat race.
Yes.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you one more reason for not really getting sucked into this fast science and all, because I realized very early that it takes a lot to be in the rat race. I told you, right, that I didn't get into any competitive exams because I was already averted towards the competition, and I was I didn't like the way that I needed to do preparation in order to do that, because it seemed like a very rat race. So that was around my 12th standard experience. So later on, what happened is that so PhD time, things are not in your hand, right? You kind of follow what your guide says. So it was a good thing for me because I could just follow. It was not on my head. But later on, when I became a faculty, I decided that I will do things the way I want, and that should be based on the satisfaction of the work.
Nice.
If that is possible, then I can do as much with that as possible. So I will do to the
best
extent, like, but the optimization quantity is the satisfaction of the work. See, satisfaction you can derive in multiple ways. You can say, okay, I published 20 papers this year. That's one parameter for satisfaction. Oh, I published a nature paper this year. Another parameter. Okay, I learned something new and I published that. That's another parameter for satisfaction. So of course, I will be very happy if I can publish a nature paper, but at the same time, I become very happy if I can understand something new. And that explanation, and then physical chemistry gives you that scope to ask questions, ask the why question.
Ask the why question.
And that why question I always go after, and that's what I like about. And science gives you the freedom to exercise the whichever way you want to. Of course, you would like to be sometimes recognized by others, your peers, but with little effort you can actually overcome that.
Yes,
what is that
urge.
Called? Urge. That urge. and get on to your stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, this is beautifully put. It also probably is a kind of an overall exposure, right? Because if you have spent time in Paris, where you spent probably your first postdoctoral stint,
right,
and subsequently you went to Colorado to do your second postdoc.
Right.
So these are places which are very different from where you were actually doing your work.
Correct.
It would have also exposed you to some new ways of thinking.
Right.
And you can see that the problems you were working on actually has very different things.
So for example, my postdoc boss J.T. Hines is a world-renowned scientist in solvation dynamics. In fact, I remember there was in Colorado Boulder, one scientist came. He was also very famous. He was giving a talk, and he mentioned in the talk, if J.T. Hines is there in the audience, I would not talk about these things because I know that he has done that kind of respect. He commands, but he never demands that respect. He never imposes that. Automatically, you'll be amazed. He's a chemist, right? So-called chemist. So we were working on the DNA expansion, and we wanted to treat the DNA as an elastic rod, where each nodes will be elastic. So we had to somehow work on the elastic theory. So he said, okay, and I was reading Landau's book on elasticity, and I was stuck at that. You won't imagine, he just sat there. He said, okay, let me derive it. And he derived the equation sitting there from one point to another point. And he said, where did I learn it from? I learned it from that book, which is basically mainly for Marx, Swarm series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He is a literature person. He did his literature first and then science. Amazing.
Yeah, even Ed Witten, for example, he did also kind of social science.
This is And he's so intense. When he will sit there and ask, and so meticulously correct. I remember reading a paper. It is not in his field. He was reading line by line. You can pick his any paper and you will find not a single word that misinterprets, overemphasizes, hypothesizes without specifying it. That kind of a particular person he is. Yes, so I learned from him. So I kind of try to balance. Somewhat with my own limitations, but of course associations with big people always gives you some ideas, some benefit, right? So
yeah, give us a very brief gist of your research. What is you and your group working on now?
So see, right now, so I started initially working with drug DNA intercalation, where so there are anti-cancer drugs which go and insert between a pair of base pairs. So people don't know the molecular mechanisms, how they go in, why the DNA will even let the drug to go in. So one had to study using computational methods to do that. I think our group was the first one. So in my postdoc, I could de-intercalate the drug, like that means take out the drug from the DNA. But intercalating is much more difficult because it is going from many states to one state. And with my student here, that was my first project, and I could successfully show the free energy and landscape and the mechanism of intercalation of an anti-cancer drug into DNA. Yeah. And thereby, because people used to think that DNA base pairs will break and the drug will enter and base pairs will form. So we showed that doesn't happen. So there is a very nice mechanism. So imagine that you have two books, one after another, and you want to open that up, open up the books. So if you push the top book, horizontally and restrain the side, what will happen?
Sure.
It will just open up.
Okay.
And that is called roll angle. So it was pushing it, and then that push, because of the constraints, went to a rotational one, and the drug could actually enter. Nice. So without giving penalty to the DNA, the drug could actually intercalate. And we call that as that is a minimum base stacking penalty pathway. That was the title.
Okay.
So that we started working on. So in general, we have expertise in molecular dynamics simulation and free energy calculations. So we study biomolecular aggregation processes, protein-protein interactions, drug-protein interactions, drug-DNA interactions, or intercalations. And that naturally takes me to drug design. Because many of the drugs bind to the protein, and people find which molecule would actually bind to a protein. And nowadays, because of machine learning and all, there are many methods that help design those new molecules. And we also started working on that. So now we published a paper where we create the drug from scratch. From given a protein site, we actually generate the drug molecule from atoms. So we place one atom, then another, and that's how we create the entire molecule. So that one of my master students have worked on, and now he is doing a PhD in Maryland. So so this is a general, and also of course water entropy. So the Carnot cycle, which I did not even understand after the end of my first semester. In fact, when I had to teach here, my first topic was statistical thermodynamics, which means thermodynamics and more. And the book that probably I feared most, which was Callan, and then followed by Macquarie,
Donald Macquarie,
and not only that, heat and thermodynamics of Zimanski. So when I was reading Zimanski, it looked like a storybook now. Forget about, I saw that how lucidly it was written. Zimanski became my favorite, and Callan, of course, was something that I can enjoy, and Macquarie anyways. So then I realized that why I learned that time. Only one thing, I didn't pay attention. That was not my priority. That's all. I don't think if somebody puts attention, they won't understand these things.
Yeah, exactly.
We see so many students, right, not doing well. But they're all good students because they come through exams. I'm sure if they put that as a priority, they will be able to do it.
You mentioned a very important point actually here. See, sometimes I'll just take an arbitrary example. Understanding, let's say, economics, okay, needs some kind of understanding of social constructs. It has to actually be learned after navigating through some complex human interactions. Sometimes young children might not be able to understand. For example, money is already an artificial concept. There is nothing natural about money, right? It is actually kind of a behavioral aspect of human beings. Whereas if you look at basic sciences, a kid who is just looking at a sunrise or a sunset actually is stuck with a wonder and hence a question, which is very natural, because the evolutionary way,
Right.
we have not kind of grown up to understand concept of money.
Right.
It has to be taught, of course, through human interaction you will learn. But understanding, let's say, physics, even a lot of observations, chemistry, biology, and even mathematics, because you have to start counting and understanding things around you. These four aspects are so fundamental, so foundational. And somehow this kind of doesn't get registered, because understanding these concepts in slightly greater detail, as you mentioned, if somebody is really trying to pay attention, it can actually come naturally.
Right.
Because you have to just take
No,
your
in fact, kids ask those questions.
Exactly.
They ask that why the sun is getting red in the evening and all that. They ask why sky is blue, sea is. So these questions are there in their mind, but I think the answers, it is structured in such a way that answers come after a lot of non-interesting studies.
Yes.
That is probably the problem. See, just the same reason why quantum mechanics people find it hard, because they cannot visualize the things, right? Because they have to go through maths to understand basically what could be happening. So but people can be made little bit more curious. So sometimes what happens is that you need to take people to attend to something. So when you say that, look how beautiful the flower is, that time you said, oh, look how how the color is different from the other flower.
Exactly.
So that inculcates the curiosity, and that happens, you see, in many of the IISER kids. You will notice that probably because of the culture, because they also talk the same way. Because when I talk to my son, I said, okay, this color is white, this color is, why the color is different. Your shirt color is blue, that flower's color is blue, and the sky is blue. Is there any similarity or difference? So those things will naturally come.
Exactly.
So in a household, in a conversation mode, these things come in, and that's why that also influences them. See, I'll tell you, life in general has so many dimensions to it. So more you get exposed to something, more inclined you can be, because we as a human being, I think, can adjust to things very quickly.
Absolutely.
So so for example, I should tell you is that I told you about my friend influences up to 12th, right, Siddharth, and then very quickly when I went to BSc, then of course the topper guy Ambarish, and there was another person whose name was Arijit, who is a teacher now, who is actually teaching in South Point School, and he's also a very popular JE teachers in chemistry. In fact, people have made a Facebook on his page and all that. So they influenced me there, and then many of the hostel mates, many of them actually, not one person I would really name. And then when I came to IISER and started teaching, then Anirban really had a strong influence in me for teaching. In fact, I remember when I was teaching first year, it was quantum, basic quantum chemistry. And I used to discuss with him for hours, 2 hours. So, and he would actually give me that time. For 1 hour of class, I would study anyway, and then on top of that 2 hours discussion, I will have with him on that. So that really helped me to, make my teaching a little bit better.
I should mention to the listeners, Arnab is a fantastic teacher. I'll be actually linking some of the lectures he's given, which is on NPTEL. It's really worth listening to, and there are so many interesting things I have also learned from watching some of the videos and
Right.
looking at
In fact, I get comments from, engineers,
it.
comments from some teachers,
Mm.
comments from random students. And recently, 2 days back, somebody asked me about Starling engine. So it's from Jimansky only.
Jimansky.
And then he was asking about some portions. So I get that, and I think it is worthwhile to put that effort. And I kind of it gives me a satisfaction that the person who could not understand even the Carnot cycle can talk about now the complicated Starling engine, and I show them the Starling engine in the class also I bought from Amazon.
Yeah.
And I show them how it works on both on ICE and on the. In fact, teachers training program that MS did, and I have to again talk about. And people now call me just for to talk about entropy. In fact, in the science day, I don't know whether you have seen it. I gave a lecture to the 8th standard, 9th standard kids. So Ashok, who organizes that, asked me, told me that which topic are you going to talk about? I said I don't talk about entropy. He said, but science day is very general, and many people can come. People without science background also can come. Parents can come. Can you explain entropy to a person who doesn't know anything about science? I said yes. And there were all those kids were sitting there, and I said that how can I talk about that? See, I cannot dilute the concept. At the same time, I cannot do anything that will confuse them. So I started talking about pizza and conversion of energy, basically. Pizza, and then somebody's running, those kind of things. I talked about energy first. So I said, first they understand what is energy. Are you feeling energetic or not? I showed them the Bahubali picture, with the shivering on the head, a lot of. Then I asked that, okay, fine. Then you see the pizza, somebody is running. So it's conversion of energy. Now, how that conversion happens, which allows that conversion. And then I showed them that entropy is a gate for, energy conversion. And then I showed them the video about heat transfer. So there's a pin attached to the wax, and then you are hitting one side of the rod, heat gets transferred, and then pin falls off. They see that. I said, why, what happened here? No, sir, the heat is going, that's why the wax is melting. Oh, heat is going from this way, this side. Why not the other side? No answer. I said, okay. So slowly I was building up. And then slowly, then I asked them in fact, at the end I asked them the question, does water have high entropy or ice? They could answer correctly.
Nice.
In fact, I asked them that, do you have higher entropy than your siblings who are in your house, sitting there, confined? They could actually answer the correctly.
Nice.
In fact, the video you can actually see.
I'll share.
So it's I feel very good. I think they got some sense of it. In fact, it's taught much later because it is probably considered to be a hard topic. But I think if put it in properly, I think they can also understand that. For example, an ink, mixing in water, they should understand is because of entropy. Heat getting transferred spontaneously, it should be because of entropy. That they should, the curiosity should govern them too. But in many of the courses, what happens is that thermodynamics is taught in such a formal manner that there is no scope of curiosity. If you have a question in your mind and you look for answer, then you will be curious. So that's why in my class, actually very good students could understand that. I never used to explain everything. I used to leave them hanging at some point so that they can go back and search or understand and learn much more than they would have if I told them the answer.
Exactly.
And I asked one guy, do you realize that I don't explain 100%? He said yes. That student said actually. So I felt really good that they could, and at least few of them could understand that. So that is one of my other teaching philosophy, is that I don't want to explain. I don't believe that somebody can teach anything to somebody.
True.
You only invoke the curiosity for somebody to learn. There are phenomenal teachers nowadays available online. The online we know because offline we cannot meet everybody, but online we can meet some of them. And I see through online portals that I I can see that there are phenomenal teachers, and we can learn also from a lot of them, right? And you will see the one common thing is that they invoke curiosity. Because if you have that, it is like giving you money to buy whatever you want to. Rather than giving you a packet of chips, is giving you 20 rupees, buy whatever you want. Somebody may not like chips. They will buy something else. It's like that. So to hand out the most important ingredient for knowledge is the curiosity.
Exactly.
And the interest, right? So again, that's what we try, but then, whatever.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
So Arnab, since we are almost converging towards the conclusion, tell us about how do you relax? I know you like yoga and other things.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, and also we'll talk a little bit about your other interests and recommendations.
Right. So relax meaning, see, I like to watch movies. And very serious movies, basically, deep thought movies, basically. I like classical music a lot, really. And in fact, I am afraid of plane turbulence. And that time, if I listen to classical music, like for example, Darwadi Kannada or something like that, I can relax. So that is the first thing. I can relax by that. And of late, of course, I again regained my interest in yoga. And see, physical exercise I started doing when first time I felt that my health was going very bad. Before, that was just before Corona. And my one day I couldn't even come out of bed because of pinching of nerves. And I saw some videos and did some yoga. And after that, I have been doing a lot of exercise, playing badminton, running, and so many things. And in between, you saw I became very thin, and then I gained it back. And I realized that running and badminton and gym may not be sustainable for a long time. So I shifted to yogasana, which I did earlier. I know the benefit of it, but now I know yogasana is not yoga. Yogasana is only a part of yoga. Yoga has much more into it. So I started learning it online from many different places. And maybe because of, I don't know, aging or not, but I really like listening to the philosophies, Indian philosophies, Hindu philosophies that are there, behind yoga. So I, like that, and I practice doing some of the yogasanas, including pranayama and all that. And I personally see a lot of benefit in myself, because I see that first of all, you can calm down I am an anxious person by nature, so you can calm down your anxiety. And in fact, I felt myself sharper when I was doing the exercise regularly, because I literally saw my response to a thing was faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw that. Actually, I experienced that myself.
Yeah, I can also vouch for that.
Yeah.
On a day when you don't exercise, you're feeling not that sharp.
So that is the second thing. And then in general, you feel more relaxed and happier. If your body is little tired, your mind is more relaxed, I would say. So that is my interest. Reading novels is always my interest. So for example, every day I read sometime before going to sleep. I was reading a book called Breath by James Nestor. It's a fantastic book. Everybody should read it. That just tells you that why you should breathe through the nose and not through the mouth is one thing. It's all scientifically written. There are experiments done under doctor and with all the measures. So that is my current interest. Hopefully it will. And actually I change a lot. My interest varies from time to time. I try many different things, but I hope to stick to this yoga pranayama thing for a little longer, because I see a good benefit in them. Yeah.
Very interesting. Fantastic. Fabulous. Arnab, we have spent almost 2.5 hours now, and it's been a real pleasure. We have really taken deep dives into the kind of or I would rather call it meditations into becoming a scientist right from a childhood. And as I mentioned, not often does one listen to such kind of granular details about somebody's early childhood. And really, it's an excellent memoir of your own thinking, and I am hoping that a lot of people will benefit out of it.
So one thing I would like to say that my story should tell people. In fact, at one point I should mention here is that I took courses for remedial courses, right, for IISER students who fail in an exam, and for them there is remedial classes, and so that they can actually do that. So I did once that one. So there were 6 students. I didn't really teach them that time. I told them to tell their stories.
Nice.
And I told my failure stories. So they kind of understood that if this person, having failed so miserably at one point, can become a professor, why not us?
Yeah, exactly.
So they did not open up in the beginning, but slowly they started opening up, telling. I told them, what is holding you back? Initially they didn't say, but slowly it came out. And I took an exam, same exam that I took for them earlier, and the highest marks was 86 out of 100 for and lowest was 50 something. So that clearly shows that every student can do. It is just that at their willingness at that point, whether they are really interested or not. If something they really care about, everybody has the potential to do it. That is what I understand. I believe very, very dearly. I believe very, very strongly. Everybody has the potential. It's just sometimes luck, sometimes interest lies in some other places. And science is of course beautiful, but I would say life is much broader, and there's so much thing to learn every day. So getting really stuck to one idea is not a good thing.
Exactly.
So I like to keep myself open, as scientists should be open. And I would accept the life the way it comes.
It's a beautiful lesson actually for not just doing science, but to lead a life itself. Also there is an element of influencing somebody else's life, right? Because as teachers, as researchers, we interact with so many people who are actually trying to come and seek knowledge, but in the process of actually imparting, we also gain a lot. And
no, that is definitely. If I should mention that, because I learned so much from the students, so much from the kids, so much from my son. So how to become a father, my son taught me. I made mistakes. I forgot to pick him up one day. And my wife was furious. But he forgave me. He said, okay. I realized that, man, if I can forgive mistakes like this, it will be so nice.
Very nice.
But a kid can do. So similarly, students, I have learned so much from the students, PhD students, master students. Their curiosity, their enthusiasm, the way they, wonder at things. It reminds you of your own childhood, own memories, right? That's why we are fortunate that we can still be with those students, because their age is not increasing. We are getting older, but the average age of the campus is static.
Exactly.
So that really is a great thing for us.
Absolutely. It keeps us also.
No, we learn definitely a lot. From the innocence, from their genuine effort, their genuine questions. It is really a really fortunate thing.
Absolutely. Great, Arnab. Thank you very much for your time and thoughts.
Thank you, Pawan. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid this for a long time.
No, yeah. In fact, I was trying to catch hold of Arnab, because I know this is not the only time when Arnab will come on this show. I'm very sure I'll be talking to you subsequently at some point of time.
I know your series is also really, really fantastic, because this will be there, right? As documented.
That's the whole point about doing this. This should be an archive. We'll document for future generations. Hopefully,
people will know that that life is life.
Exactly.
See, at some point before I getting into IISc, I thought that I would be a clerk. I will write the
Mm.
exam, all those exams that for a clerk, and then I will become a clerk. And I'm sure that I would have been happier there also. It's not that. See, social experiments tells you that whether you break a leg today or get 1 crore rupees, 1 month or 1 year down the line, you will be the same.
Same, exactly.
So you get equilibrated to the situation that you.
Yeah.
So I would still be okay.
Okay.
So the thing is that you shouldn't take things so
Very rigid and
rigidly.
Yeah, you're right.
Meaning, this is what I want to tell myself all the time. Because see, everybody may not come with that kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
So if you remind yourself, then it will be okay.
Okay, absolutely. That's a golden lesson on which we can end this conversation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
very much. Yeah. This is Pratidhwani, where we try to humanize science, this time with the one and only Arnab Mukherjee.